Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream. How do you connect a 16th century potato to limitless energy production? Could Napoleon's toothpick have a direct link to a machine that predicts the future? And how can a 1700s conch shell chart a course to humans connecting their brains to the internet? James Burke's visionary series Connections returns for a new generation. Experience all new Connections. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hello, dudes and dudettes. Welcome to I've Been Thinking. I am your host, Elena Grace. I am really excited about today's episode. Today we're going to be talking about community in pandemic, in particular the COVID-19 pandemic. I think it would be really interesting maybe in a future episode to look at past pandemics, the Spanish influenza, H3N3 or what, the one back in the 60s, I think. You know, some different situations in comparison to today's and see if there are similarities with how we come together and deal with it on a more individual community basis. But today we're going to be talking about some experience that myself and some friends have had, and how we have seen community grow and change in ways since the beginning of this pandemic, the quote-unquote beginning of this pandemic in the United States. But before we get into that, I want to first announce that our first book club episode will come out on Friday, June 5th, and we have chosen the book. I have chosen the book. It sounds weird to say I, but it also sounds weird to use the imperial we. Anyway, the book has been chosen for our first book club episode, and we're going to read one of my favorites, Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I don't want this book club to be, you know, quote unquote girly or conspiracy or true crime or any one particular thing. So we're really going to read a wide variety of books for this, and I mean literally a wide variety. But for the first one, I wanted to start with something that is important to me and also that I think is a little bit more universal. So, really, really excited about that. So, grab your copy of Wild, get it on your e-reader, whatever, read through it, make some notes, and then I'm going to make a post where you can comment your thoughts about it, and then we'll talk about your thoughts, my thoughts, everybody's thoughts, And maybe I'll look into some internet, chat rooms or something too and pull stuff out of there. But we'll talk about the book. So I'm very excited about that. Now, to get into the nitty-gritty of this episode, during the COVID-19 self-isolation, self-quarantine here in the U.S., I have been thinking about how even though most people are isolating themselves from other people, there is still this crazy sense of community that has developed. So I want to share just a few stories about where I've seen this phenomenon, if you will, and why I think it happens, and also how I think it could potentially change things for the better as we move forward, as long as we let it. So, since the beginning of isolation, I have been, which was about mid-March, I think, for me, I've been super impressed by the way neighborhoods have come together, right? So, my direct neighbors especially, we have lived in our house for 3 years. It's a townhome. Our neighbors 2 doors down have lived here for maybe a year, I think. And we have never, ever, ever, ever talked to them. But since quarantine, we've, distantly gotten to know them. Our puppies they're fully grown, 2 years old each, but they're still puppies. You know how it is. Our puppies have fallen in love with the little girl that lives in that house. She's a few years old, and she is just the cutest little thing, and the girls just love her. And we've let them run over into their yard once or twice to say hi to her. And we have become friendly with the ladies who live there. We yell at each other from our decks sometimes, say hi now out in front of the houses. And my roommate even made a mask for the little girl that lives over there. So that way when she goes out in public, she has something. So we have gotten to know them a little bit because, for one, everybody in our neighborhood has been going outside way more than we used to, which I just think is really intriguing. My roommates and I, we are all 24, 25, and so we're still, this isn't, if you know us also, this isn't surprising for us, but we bring our sun chairs out into the driveway and a picnic blanket, and we open the garage door, and we bring our Trulies and our Bon and Vives and our bourbons out into the driveway with us and sit with the dogs in the sun in the evening a lot of the time and play music from our speakers in the garage. And, that's a very us thing to do. And I've never in our neighborhood noticed that many people doing that kind of thing. At the most, people will hang out on their back deck sometime. And I spend a lot of time on our deck. But I've got a hammock back there, so, spend a lot of time. But it's just not ever been something that I've seen a lot in our neighborhood. But recently, everybody has been hanging out in the front yards. They've got the garage doors open, got maybe some chairs out, or they're playing in the driveway with the kids, like with chalk or whatever, or sitting in a chair in the sun in the evening. And so, everybody's out doing that, or they're going for an evening walk. The kids are playing out in the green space in front of the house. It's really nice. And we've been able to become acquainted with some people this way. There's a little boy and his dad and their wiener dog who walk around a lot. The little boy loves to collect sticks, and he will bring them and drop them off for our dogs. And that's just, he's like 2, I think. And it's just sweet. We never had that kind of thing before. The most we ever had was we would speak to our next door neighbors on either side, and a family used to live on one side of us and they've moved out, and they were super wonderful, and I think they kind of adopted us, and they would bring us food sometimes and stuff, and so that was great. But we've not had anything like that since they left, certainly. So seeing our little neighborhood become more of a community because of our shared experience, I guess, of being home more and wanting to be outside a little bit more than maybe before, that is really neat for me. It's a really cool thing to watch happen, So similarly, the kindness that people have shown in response to this has been really breathtaking in my opinion. From bigger kindnesses like landlords forgiving rent and people delivering groceries to people who may or may not be in dire need. And just selfless things like that, to small things like just checking in on your neighbor and making sure they're okay. It's just been really amazing to see that part of humanity, because I think that a lot of the time we forget maybe about that part of ourselves, or it's easy to forget about it because it's certainly not what you tend to see in the evening news. So one of my favorite things that has happened in my personal life has been this older gentleman that my boyfriend Adam works with. He and Adam were chatting one day at work, like a month and a half ago maybe, distantly, of course, about how Adam was just so upset about Gym's closing, and Adam's a real gym junkie, and but not in the douchebaggy way. But anyway, he was talking about how he was annoyed that his gym was closing and he wasn't going to get to work out anymore. So this older man that Adam only barely knows at work went out of his way, and a day or two later brought Adam 2 dumbbells so that he could work out at home. And he told him, I don't use this weight. It's fine. Just give them back to me when you can go back to the gym again, basically. But just from that little interaction, he decided, hey, I've got this thing that could help this guy out just a little bit. Maybe make him feel a little bit better, whatever it is. I'm going to bring it to him. And that is just so incredible to me. That it's such a small thing, but it's so incredibly kind. And that kind of thing never would have happened without this pandemic, So we've also, Allison, who was on our first quote-unquote real episode, she and I have talked a lot about how when we go out and walk the dogs, we have noticed that people walking by are more friendly. We go on a lot of walking paths and some light hiking trails, not really hiking trails, but the best you can get inside of city limits, I guess. But some nature trails, I guess. Anyway, so we go on these walking paths a lot with the pups, and we have noticed that people are so much more likely to smile or say hello or compliment the pups, just say something. And, I think it's just that people want interaction. They want human interaction, and being deprived of it in daily life is kind of showing us how important maybe that interaction can be, how important other people are, if that makes any sense. One of my friends, she told me about how an employee at the grocery store the other day asked her how her day was, and it turned into literally a 5-minute conversation about work, especially at the grocery store, and just what's going on in the pandemic. And it's because they both craved interaction outside of their small circles of people that they've been able to interact with, during this period of isolation. They were so craving that they just jumped at the opportunity to socialize. I ran into a woman earlier today, actually, and I expected it to be like a quick, hey, hi, how you doing? Thanks so much, adios. And she just wanted to talk. And, we were like apart from each other and everything in a safe distance. But she just wanted to talk. She was asking me about my graduate degree, about finding work, about all of these things. And I'm like, man, I don't even know you that well. But I can tell that she just needed to talk to somebody, just about anything. And it's really interesting, I guess, to see people need that, because I don't think that most of us have lived a hermit lifestyle ever to the degree that we are right now. And it's really getting to some people. And, to that matter, even with social media, I have seen such an increase in people wanting to communicate with each other. I have been putting updates on Facebook much more often than normal. I don't really love Facebook. I think it's just whatever. But some really important people to me use Facebook, and that is, for most of them, their only social media. And also one of the main sources of me being able to communicate with those extremely important people to me. Of course, I can call them or whatever, but for just a casual communication, keeping them updated. So I keep Facebook. And, my mama, she loves Facebook. So since I've not been able to see her in over 2 months, which is crazy, I like to talk to her on the phone, and then I ask her if she's seen the things that I post. She loves my pup Winnie. She loves to know what my roommates and I are doing, just what's going on in life. And I make sure that she has seen those things. So I call her and I'm like, hey, did you see, we need to swim today or whatever. And it's a really great way for us to connect and keep and stay connected, And so I've also seen a lot of people reaching out to new people on social media in attempts to connect. And, I'm in some Facebook groups for a few different things. And one in particular, shout out to Ghost Gang, always has posts where people are like, I'm lacking inspiration, I'm having some problems with my friends, they're not being very supportive, whatever it is. Does anyone want to connect on Instagram and be friends? And I really love that. I have found some really cool, inspirational, artsy, creative, just don't give a crap what anybody else thinks, ladies to follow through that group and through people reaching out like that. And I have seen these groups, and then the groups that kind of stem out from those Facebook groups, I've seen them serve as spaces for people to just get interaction in general too. Like I said, I share so my family sees, but a lot of people will come to these groups and they'll share something just to spark a conversation and have some social interaction while still maintaining isolation. And it's really interesting. It's been a space for people to talk through their fears over the virus, the pandemic in general, what it could mean in the long run, how to hopefully bounce back from it. You know, it's been a space for people to come together and share ideas. People with anxiety and depression come in for support. People who are experiencing family problems, especially during this time, have a safe space to vent. So social media has been this really cool space for connection, which is really what it was meant for in the beginning, you know? So that's really awesome to see it take that role and not just be a platform to, you know, share, hey, I did this, look at it. It has been a space to meet and connect in the best way. So, I've been thinking about why it took something like this for us to connect with each other, or maybe to want to connect. I think it's been so hard for everybody to be isolated, but then every other day we will purposefully try to avoid each other. We're constantly canceling plans and finding reasons not to go out. But now that we've been told we can't do anything, suddenly it's so difficult for us, right? Honestly, I'm not surprised. We're all stubborn jerks in one way or another. But more than anything, for most all of us, I think it's about the fact that humans are innately social creatures. We aren't meant to live in solitude or even with the same two roommates for 4 weeks straight. Taylor has been ready to just absolutely hang me and Allison off the back of the deck. She is so tired of us. So, you know, we miss each other. We miss having a variety of people. We miss our families and our friends and the people that we don't live with. And we miss meeting new people. We miss going to TJ Maxx or Ulta or Target just to see what's there. We miss going to Kroger for just a pack of Oreos and not feeling bad about it. We miss those, quote, normal things. And that includes socialization. Going to the pool, the park, baseball games and concerts, all of those things. But that's why it's important for us to be social in whatever ways we can, to check in on each other, to utilize our social media for the purpose that it was meant for, connection. It's really important to care for ourselves and each other during this unparalleled, I know that's cliche now, but it's true, point in history. I truly think that in 20 years, I'm going to look back on this and remember how people came together to support one another in spite of restrictions, just as much, if not more, than I'll remember how scary it was at times. So, in conclusion, as we move back towards a more, quote, normal life, I want to end on this. Think about what is worth going back to. You've spent all of this time with your family, your pets, your friends. You've spent time with yourself, hopefully, and maybe learned some things. Haven't you realized what things are genuinely important to you and what things you can do without? Are there days you can continue working from home as we move forward? Are you sure you don't have time to walk your dog 20 minutes a day? Would you rather bring that work home to finish after your day? Or would you rather spend some time with the family? Just think on that. What is worth going back to. So, wash your hands, friends. Wear your masks properly. And don't forget to wash them if they're reusable. Be careful and find ways to be social, even at a distance. I really think that your heart and your mind will thank you for finding some community in this time of pandemic. Thanks, guys. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at I've Been Thinking Pod. Check out our Buzzsprout page if that's not where you're listening at. We will be available on some new streaming services soon, hopefully. Just be patient and let me know what you think. Please feel free to reach out on Instagram. I can't wait to talk at you again soon. Bye.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream,
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new Connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at CuriosityStream.com.